Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the SavandCheesy show on Coyote Radio. We have the wonderful guest Rose Gardea. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Rosalind Gardea, and I work in housing and residential education.
Okay. So what do you do there?
My current position is I'm an assistant director for first year and second year experience.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to tell people what the First Yotie program is?
Yes, so this is a new program / initiative that I brought in this past academic year, and it's a first generation support group. So it's basically if you identify as first generation student, you can be part of this group. And thus far, we started it last November, 2016. We started just with the kickoff event, just to kind of see who's going to come, who's interested specifically in housing. We had a really great turnout. So with that buy-in, I started just implementing different programs and services for this student population. As we all know, Cal State San Bernardino has a very high first-generation group. There's over 80% of our student population that attend here. So thus far, the programs that I have done there have focused on academic resources, just how to study, how to best prepare academically. We've had Evelyn Knox come in and do like a My First Step journey, and basically we are getting staff and faculty members come through and speak about their journey as a first generation student and how they have overcome educational obstacles and basically how they became the person they are today.
Sounds great. I wish I would have had something like that when I first came in.
Yeah, no, and there are other programs on our main campus that do cater obviously to first generation students, but specifically in housing, we didn't really have anything particularly for that population. But I am definitely looking forward to maybe expanding a little more and just seeing where this program, goes in the future.
For our viewers that don't know what a first generation student is, can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, so the way we define it, I would say I define it, a first generation student as a student who their parents did not get a college degree, meaning maybe their highest level was a high school diploma. So anything, below an associate's, things of that nature, that is a first generation student. You are the first to attend college or university.
Were you a first generation student?
Yes, I am a first generation student, and I'm very proud to be one. Both my parents did achieve a high school diploma, so that was great. But I am the first with my sister to attend college and get a bachelor's and a master's.
Would you mind sharing what you got your bachelor's and your master's in?
Sure. So I got my bachelor's in criminology. I particularly wanted to work with troubled youth, things of that nature. Obviously, there were things that changed a little bit along my journey at the University of La Verne. That's where I attended. And I was very much involved in housing and residential education when I was there in the University of La Verne. And I started off as an RA, loved it, became a student manager in the housing department as well. Really enjoyed my time there. And it wasn't until my senior year when I was speaking to my supervisor and just talking about what my future was going to hold for me. I knew I wanted to get a graduate degree. I was thinking maybe a master's in criminal justice, things of that nature. But I just didn't know at that moment. And I did spend some time in a boys' home. And I also did some time in the Pomona Courthouse, both internships. And I realized during my times there that I didn't feel I was quite ready to go down that road yet. It was very much emotionally, physically, mentally draining, especially in the boys' home for me. So even though I wanted to work with troubled youth and that population, I just didn't feel I was quite ready. So my supervisor basically asked me a simple question. He was like, what do you love to do now? Like, what do you love to do today? And I said, I love being an RA. And he was like, well, why don't you continue on with that passion? And so at that time, he was getting his master's in college counseling and student development in Azusa Pacific University. And so he said, hey, why don't you look into this program and see what it has to offer you? And so I began that journey. I looked at several different master's programs in student affairs particularly. And I fell in love with it. I did, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this on and take this leap of faith. And I got my master's at Azusa Pacific University.
Awesome. But what made you choose student affairs? Was it just that you were the criminal justice side was just overbearing for you, or was it something else that made you want to pursue it?
I think for me in particular, I realized even through my criminal justice courses and, really seeing different students' backgrounds and things of that nature, particularly first generation. Me being a first generation student, I struggled a lot in college and just the transition, entering it, understanding what departments offered, the services, feeling like I belonged there and I was not just a number. So there were this things that I knew I struggled with, and I knew other students were struggling with as well. So when I first, entered my master's program, it was taking a big risk of, is this something that I really want to do for the rest of my life? Is this something that I'm really going to put my eggs all in one basket? And so through my 2 years there, I really realized my passion for first generation students and how I wanted to really give back to that community, especially the community that I represent. And it was there that I did a lot of research. All of my graduate research focused on first generation students. And so from entering that program to ending it, it just increased my passion just to work with college students.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know you did a lot of graduate research. Would you like to share what some of the research was? Or I mean, I work at the Office of Student Research, and it's cool to see what all your peers are working on, because we do all like the administrative work, but we approve some of the projects, and it's just like, wow, I didn't even know that kind of stuff was going on behind the scenes, but just seeing that that's what wanted me. That's what made me pursue a graduate degree or how do you say it, post-secondary or yeah.
Yes.
So that's what made me want to pursue my master's, is because just knowing the different types of research you can conduct while you're going to school.
Yes.
So would you mind sharing what kind of research you did?
Yes. So particularly in SUSB Pacific, in their master's program, one of the requirements, or basically your graduation requirement, was to complete a capstone, which consisted of 12 different competencies, which were 12 different, you could say, like goals that you had to show that you accomplished along the way, and how you accomplished it, whether it was in the class, in your assistantship, things of that nature. So like I said, a lot of my research is focused on basically what do first generation students need in particular, right? And what I found out was that they need that assistance in transitioning into the college life. It's very different from what home life is like. And, sometimes when you don't have that support from home, or just that lack of understanding of like what is college, or what is the purpose of getting a degree, it's difficult because, parents could be your biggest fan, your cheerleaders, but when they're not understanding everything, it could be a little challenging, and it could make students feel that they're very much alone in this process. So for me, it was finding out, okay, like what can we do now to assist in this transition into college? Then once you're here, now what? We can give you the tools to be a successful student, as far as academically, getting involved on campus, just finding your niche, in the college setting. But for me, it was also like, okay, once you're here, how are you going to find your purpose in life? How are you going to find, what career is the right career for you, and what major is the right major for you? And a lot of times with our first generation students, they are coming in working multiple jobs, because some of them are helping their family financially. Some of them are dealing with that burden of, is school really, is it worth my time, or is it a waste of my time because I can be helping my family, and I'm here now taking courses, and I should be working and doing much more. So a lot of them, they carry that burden, whether it's financially helping their parents, and also financially even affording, to be in school.
So what was your aha moment, or when did you realize, when did you find your niche, at what phase through your educational career, and what was it?
My niche just at the University of Laverne, there in particular, as an undergrad student.
Just knowing that you wanted to help out, and that first generation was going to be like your main topic.
No, I think it was definitely in grad school. It was definitely when I was doing that research of, when I was reading these articles, I was seeing a lot of myself in it. I was seeing that my parents were my biggest fans. They were just like, hey, you need to go to college. It's not an option. You need to get there. But a lot of times it was just find the right people to assist you to get there, And I knew financially they cannot, pay for my tuitions and things of that nature. But they were very adamant of, get scholarships, get grants, do what you need to do to pay for this. So I think this throughout my research, and when it came to me presenting my capstone and my work, the feeling that I got just presenting it was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, this is my purpose here, and it's to give back to this population.
Cool. I mean, you do a good job at it. I feel like I've worked with you for about 2 years now.
Yes.
It's gonna be the end of the second year. But I've seen that you've created like a really good support group, especially within housing. I feel like a lot of people look up to you. You may not see it, but a lot of people kind of like when they see you, they see like how you're saying you see yourself in the student in the population.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of inspirational for especially like a first generation Hispanic students.
Thank you. I
I'd just
appreciate
like to
that.
thank you for everything you've done.
Thank
And
you.
you're a role model on campus. How does that feel like?
Being a role model?
Yeah, like when you see, I'm pretty sure, do kids ever thank you? Like, oh, thanks, bro. I mean, I'm sure they do because I've done it before. So,
I only hear it from you. It feels great. Honestly, it does feel great if when students do see me as a role model or a person that they just look up to, because that's really why I do what I do. If I can make a difference in at least one student's life, then I've done my job. And that may sound cheesy, and maybe other professionals have said that as well, but for me, it really is all about the students, and I thrive off of that. I really do my one-on-one conversations with students, and especially when it comes to me having conversations with them of their majors or their careers, when I see that aha moment in them where they found what they're good at or they found like their passion, that's what I live for. When I see that in their eyes of like, I made it, or I found this, or I discovered this about myself. So if I'm able to contribute in that journey and be that role model for them, then I've done my job.
thank you. I think I'm getting to that moment too. So I'm like,
Good.
Okay, so what was the most challenging thing that you had to go through? Let's say when you decided to do student affairs or through your career.
Through my career, I think for me, the most challenging thing as a professional thus far has been finding my voice as a professional, like a student affairs professional, and even as a woman of color. There have been times in other institutions where I have worked at where, it felt like my voice was not being heard around the table because I was a woman, or because, I was not significant, or I just didn't know what I was speaking of, and generally speaking. So for me, having to navigate that and how to figure out how to be confident and how to stand my ground no matter what, I think was the biggest hurdle for me. But I'm glad to say, being here at Cal State San Bernardino and working in housing residential education, I found my voice, and I'm very much supported here in my goals and aspirations, and what I want to do here. I am forever grateful to be here.
So you say you found your voice here?
Yes.
When you were working here?
Yes.
Crazy.
Uh-huh.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like starting to find my voice too.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened when it's funny, I don't know.
It's housing. That's what it does for you here.
move to housing, okay? If you get a chance
yes, come live with us.
Yeah, live in the housing at CSUSB. So what is your most memorable experience working for the DHRE?
Most memorable. You know what? I have a lot. I have to say, with just focusing on professional staff members, I work with a great team. Specifically, my supervisor, Christine Bender, she's the associate director there. She has been one of the main people who have made my job fun, and has taught me how to navigate politics and how to really push myself as a professional. And I think I've had many memorable moments with her and just joking around, just having fun. But I would say particularly with just me working with students, the most memorable moment for me, and this is early on, was my kickoff event for First Yotie. I was terrified. I really was. I didn't know what my outcome was going to be as far as numbers. I didn't know the buy-in, and this was something that I put a proposal in for, with Chrissy, and basically said, can I do this? Can we see how this works out? And, taking a chance and seeing if this program works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so for me, with the kickoff event that we had, I was so nervous to see who was going to come through, but knowing that over 20 residents showed up, and that number may not be that big, to most people, but for me, it was large enough. And even if I had 5 residents show up, that would have been just fine as well. And even that first meeting, just hearing, residents just say, this is what I needed. I needed a support group. Like, I'm glad that I have this now. I'm glad that I'm able to meet with people who understand what I'm going through, and I could be open and honest in this group. So thus far, that is something that is, my most memorable moment, definitely very much highlighted for me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I think I was there at your first meeting.
You did. You
Yeah,
came in.
and then-
Yeah, you came in towards the end of it. Yes.
Oh,
I think you
sorry.
had class. You had class.
Yeah, I think I did have class. But I mean, you've gained a lot of traction.
Yes.
I mean, over the, what, it's been like 2 quarters already?
Well, yeah, I started. Yeah, you could say almost 2 quarters now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely gotten a bigger turnout
Yes,
than
definitely.
before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you said that being a woman of color, right, was
Mm-hmm.
difficult. So what was your greatest accomplishment as a woman of color?
Greatest accomplished as woman of color. Wow. Let's see. I feel aside from my degrees that I've received, my bachelor's and my master's, those have been huge accomplishments and milestones in my life that I know I have beat the odds and the statistics that usually will fall under, my type of background and things of that nature. But I do have to say, because there has been other institutions where I have tried to implement initiatives that I quite was not able to do that, but I did that here. And so I feel, again, going back to First Yotie, that has been a huge accomplishment for me just here, because I know it's small right now, but I know it's going to thrive. My mission for it and vision is that I want to connect the students that are in it with faculty and staff members that are first generation and have them as mentors, or even have peer-to-peer mentoring, things of that nature, because I definitely want my students to feel like, hey, I'm not only in a group with other peers, but I have this faculty member that I never knew identified as first gen, and wow, he's a faculty member. This is someone in a position that has several degrees, or whatever the case may be, just to get that inspiration in them. So I definitely feel here thus far, having the support and the encouragement to do something like this has been wonderful for me, and it's been a great accomplishment thus far to be able to see this little baby grow. Yes.
So what are your goals or plans for the future of the First Yotie program?
Like I stated, aside from the mentorship piece, I definitely want to see if I could implement even having like keynote speakers come in, and maybe do a motivational speech for our students. Continue on with partnering with campus partners, things of that nature, because I definitely don't want this to stay in-house. I definitely want campus partners to come through and just continue to educate our students, because sometimes, during orientation and things of that nature, our students are fed a lot of information, like the counseling center, the health center, career center. They get large amounts of information, and sometimes it's that okay, I know where the career center is at, but what can I use the career center for? And it's those type of things of how do I utilize my resources. So I'll definitely like to just continue partnering with my campus partners, continue building off of the mentorship piece, because mentoring changes so many lives, and it changed mine, having several mentors in my life. So I definitely, those are kind of like my aspirations and goals that I have for First Yotie in particular.
I mean, mentoring does change lives. I can attest to that. Thank you, Rose.
Yes.
You helped me not just develop as a person, but as a student over the past year and a half. So, thank you. And the program does work. So, come to First Yotie. All right.
I appreciate the shout outs.
Oh yeah. Oh, can you also let people know that it's not just for Hispanics, right? Because I feel like that's a big misconception.
Yeah, no, it's not only for Hispanic. First Yotie is for first generation students. It does not matter your background, anything of that nature, ethnicity. You could definitely attend our programs and presentations that we put on.
Yeah, I try to advocate that because there's a big misconception about first generation students.
That has, well, I think a lot of times when people do think of first generation students, they think of, the Hispanic culture. So that's definitely not the case.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
All right, what's gonna be your next career move, or what do you see yourself doing?
After this position?
Just all right, after this position or 5 years from now?
Okay, so one of my next moves that I want to make is pursuing my doctorate. I don't want to get my doctorate in higher education. I do hope to be a professor one day. I love to teach, and like to be back in the classroom again. I would say, obviously, that's long term as far as teaching. Short term, I do want to get my doctorate in the near future. After this position, I would like to move up to an associate director in housing. That would be, something that I would really feel I can grow as and also give back to. But right now, I am only like 2 months into this new position, so I still have a lot of work to do what I'm currently in, and I'm not in a hurry to leave this position, obviously.
No, well, I feel like you're gonna be really successful. I mean, I feel like because we see like when people mention student affairs, they think of like these big prestigious people, but I feel like you're gonna get there. But this is like because this is, I don't know how long have you been into your career with student affairs?
5 years now.
Yeah, see, I feel like you're just getting your foot in, right?
Yes, somewhat.
Yeah,
yes.
so I mean, I'd love to see you grow. I'd like to see where you're gonna turn out.
Yes.
So, looking back on your career, what was probably like the most rewarding thing or something something where you could look back and say, oh, this is what I did this for?
In the last 5 years, most rewarding experience, or that's a good question. I would say rewarding experience for me would be coming to this school. The last 2 institutions I've worked in have been private institutions, so coming here to a public institution was, obviously different for me. But when I first applied as an area coordinator for this position here, obviously in housing, I looked at the population. It was a population I wanted to work in. So at the time, I was not job searching at all. And I, again, took a leap of faith and put my name in the hat. But this was the school that I based on the population and what it showed me, I wanted to be here. So after getting the position here and now being here a little over 2 years, I think this has been a very rewarding experience for me. Like, I feel this is where I'm meant to be.
What was the difference between a private school and a public school?
Okay. Obviously, the financial funding looks different and private and public. But particularly for me, at a smaller institution, the student population is just different from what you see here at Cal State. I would say even the ability to bring things in and start new things is just a little different. It's just different barriers, I would say. So I think here, like I said, with the whole finding my voice, in the last 2 private institutions I was at, I did not, for me, find my voice there. So I felt I was not giving my all and really pushing myself to my full potential.
Okay. All right, so my last question. If you could give some words of advice, if you could look back and talk to yourself, your 21-year-old self.
21.
Or your senior in college self, what would you say? Any advice to a minority woman of color?
A word of advice, even to myself or anyone in general. Don't let people's perceptions or judgment on you define who you are. You are the one that's going to define who you are with your actions, with what you do. I'm the type of person that believes in don't say it, just do it. And find that mentor. Find that person who is going to believe in you, who is going to challenge you, who's not going to tell you what you want to hear, but is going to tell you what you need to hear. And that's going to push you to get to where you need to be. So I would say that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Rose. You listen to SavandCheesy on Coyote Radio. We have local bands 24/7. Thanks for tuning in.